Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our morning coffee time for Saturday, August the 1st. How is everyone this morning? After a few hot days here, things are a little bit cooler in White Salmon today and at the Hermitage, which is nice. It's interesting how much of our perception of happiness and suffering is relative. And therein lies another one of our skillful means in ways that we can hack our way to happiness and freedom from suffering. That's also a profoundly scary concept when one considers how even refined forms of dukkha still weigh on one in a fairly profound way. It's still dukkha. And it still feels like dukkha. One still feels burdened. So anyways, today is Saturday, August the 1st, and brief reminder, at 4 p.m. today, Ajahn Sona will be giving a talk on Zoom. And then tomorrow, 1 p.m., premiering on Ajahn Sona's YouTube channel, will be the last of the jhana talks. I just learned yesterday that Dantika, who's with us here most mornings, is leaving or has left Birkin for a while. She's going to be spending some time off on her own, so I'm kind of wondering what's going to happen with the Dhamma talks. There might not be any new videos for a while, so she'll be taking a break. And of course, Monday, Ajahn Sona will join us here, so we have that to look forward to. Thought I might just read a little Dhammapada before taking questions. So it's good to go back to the word of the Buddha. And Dhammapada is an interesting collection. I wouldn't say it's my favorite collection, but one's appreciation for the Dhammapada, I think, grows when one has spent some time with the larger Sutta Pitaka collection, especially the some of the main teachings found in the Sunyutta Nikaya, the Majjhima Nikaya, and the Anguttara Nikaya, because there's all these kind of tie-ins and references. So, when one has spent some time reading through either anthologies of some of the more important suttas in those collections, or reading through the whole collections themselves is not such a chore. Each one would take you 100 days or so, maybe. You could read through those 3 collections probably before this pandemic's over. But when one has some familiarity with that, then you see that the verse of the Dhammapada oftentimes is reminding and encapsulating teachings that have much more context and are given in greater detail other places. So then it does really become like a beautiful reminder, and can be used a little bit more like as a daily reader. And I wasn't exposed to this living in Thailand so much, but I've heard stories of people growing up in Sri Lanka especially, that many school children memorize the whole of the Dhammapada. So it's something that's kind of there in their culture. as a commonly shared reference to Dhamma. And many, many Dhamma talks are grounded in Dhammapada verses. So that's just a thought about the collection itself. This is chapter 1, verse 1. So chapter 1 is called The Pairs. And it starts off with this most important teaching. Preceded by perception are mental states. Sometimes translated as mind is the forerunner of all things. Preceded by perception are mental states. For them is perception supreme. From perception they have sprung. If with perception polluted, one speaks or acts, thence as a wheel the draught ox's foot. Preceded by perception are mental states. For them is perception supreme. From perception they have sprung. If with tranquil perception one speaks or acts, thence ease follows, as a shadow that never departs. He reviled me, he struck me, he defeated me, he robbed me. They who gird themselves up with this, for them enmity is not quelled. He reviled me, he struck me, he defeated me, he robbed me. They who do not gird themselves up with this, for them enmity is quelled. Not by enmity are enmities quelled, whatever the occasion here. By the absence of enmity are they quelled. This is an ancient truth. Others who do not realize in the senses unrestrained, immoderate in food, indolent, inferior of enterprise, over him indeed Mara prevails, like the wind over a weak tree. Whoever dwells seeing the non-pleasurable in senses well restrained, and moderate in food, faithful, resolute in enterprise, over him indeed Mara prevails not, like the wind over a rocky crag. So some of the language in this translation is not my favorite of these, but I still very much like this translation by John Carter Ross. And Mahinda Palihawadana, practice saying that name. The one that really leaps off the page for me this morning, and the reason why I picked this, is this 6th verse. Others do not realize we here are struggling. Those who realize this, for them all quarrels are therefore quelled. So that comes, after this very famous thing, this very famous teaching about how hatred is never resolved through hatred. It's only through the abandonment of hatred and ill will that we come to an end to it. Is this really kind of useful reflection here? And that's recognizing the suffering, the burden the dukkha that others carry. In particular, to remove the tendency towards quarreling, but I would say, more so towards everything that sits within this kind of family of ill will, aversion, frustration, anger towards others. When we're in pain and we're displeased with others, we generally aren't gracious in giving others the benefit of the doubt when assessing their intentions or even their capabilities in relating to us in the way that we think they should be able to or should have treated us. But as the verse points out here, more importantly, we forget how much suffering and how others are themselves kind of struggling and like under the burden of dukkha, kind of in our own pain. We all too quickly kind of forget that. And that can be a very useful thing to kind of incorporate into the efforts that we make to cultivate loving kindness as a very durable habit. Especially like when we reflect on how loving kindness in its essence is non-ill will, or you say at the very least. It might not always feel warm and loving, but it's the ability sort of to harbor goodwill towards others and to protect the heart from moving towards ill will, anger, aversion, frustration. And in trying to generate sort of loving kindness towards people that we might not feel so warm and friendly towards or inclined to, just like reflecting the burden of dukkha that all beings kind of carry with them, sometimes can be a great way to kind of remove the obstacles that are preventing one from opening the heart to goodwill and to friendliness and well-wishing towards others. So, and I'd say on the whole, we're generally not all that skilled at even apprehending the mass of dukkha that exists in our own lives and the burden that we carry. There's a tendency to turn away from that, to diminish and dismiss it. And maybe in some sense it's even harder to remember that other beings carry the very same burdens. They might manifest in slightly different ways, and of course a lot of it might be quite invisible to us, but dukkha is a universal experience for living beings, and it's skillful to remind that, or to remind oneself that most people aren't in control and they're doing the best they can under the burdens that they carry. I always come back to sort of, if we truly understood somebody, their karma, the causes and conditions that they are living with, it would be impossible. To feel anger or ill will towards them. Instead, we would naturally sort of relate to them with loving kindness and compassion, sympathetic joy and equanimity. So that's an interesting thought for the day. Something maybe to mull over in your mind and carry around and maybe recollect via the faculty of sati as you move through the day. Just remember, everyone's got their struggle going. And see how that changes the way that you're able to relate or interact to others, or even think about others if you're not in direct relationship with them today. Hola. Happy Saturday. I would love skillful advice on maintaining mindfulness in work that requires thinking, typing, emails, etc. I find it easier when doing chore work, sweeping, etc. Well, yeah, that's a good question. It is difficult, and I think maybe even unrealistic, to expect a kind of profound level of mindfulness engaged in some of the things that we have to do, especially if you're like a modern knowledge worker. But there are, we can always put forth right effort. So in time, mindfulness is something that can become a quite strong habit, and you can take an enhanced, strengthened level of mindfulness into everything you do. But it's unreasonable to expect that process to happen without quite a transformation, even a transformation in your priorities and how it is that you live your life and attend to things. So, but my encouragement, Zola, is always to pull back to sort of right effort. And there's many other ways that we can usefully kind of ground ourselves and be exercising right effort, short of maintaining like a quality of mindfulness that I believe you're probably thinking of here. So it is easier engaged in sort of like more physical and direct kind of tasks rather than speaking, thinking, writing. So to bring it into those tasks, I think a good thing is to take frequent breaks, just to kind of reestablish sort of mindfulness. And to, in particular, sort of like make a strong habit out of body awareness. If you look back to the Satipatthana Sutta, there's mindfulness can be accomplished by attention to all the various postures of our life: sitting, standing, walking, lying down, eating, drinking, urinating, defecating, bending, stretching. So a strong habit of and practice to like returning to bodily awareness, and you can kind of reawaken that in even just very sort of short, quick breaks. You're sort of typing and your mind is like totally absorbed in how you're going to respond to what you're writing to. Like, take a break and just come back to the posture and sensing the body sort of in space. Or you can come back and even just stop typing and attend to your hands and feel your fingers flexing and moving and extending. And then maybe when you return to typing, there'll be a little bit more groundedness and connectedness to the touch sensation, and not completely sort of in the mind. So, but practically speaking, there's going to be whole chunks of our day and areas of our day where the conditions just aren't there for certain kind of quality of mindfulness. But there's always room to be sort of putting forth right effort in terms of like watching out for unskillful states of mind and skillful states of mind, and responding appropriately with effort and energy. So it's like a determination to sort of move through your day, practicing generosity and selfless giving and service. So thinking of others and looking for opportunities to be kind and giving, and to guard one's virtue. Like those are other ways that we can kind of move through the day. And also like loving kindness, practicing sort of loving kindness and making that like something that one reflects on sort of again and again as you move through your day. In particular, watching for the movement towards frustration, anger, and ill will, and then releasing that, resolving that, countering that, and maybe instead generating goodwill towards self and others. So in some sense, mindfulness is just one way that we accomplish putting forth right effort, and there are other ways. Good morning, Trevor. What meditation text or guidance would you recommend to take along on a solitary retreat? I have one from Tanisro Bhikkhu, one from Ajahn Sucitto, as well as one from Ajahn Sona. I wouldn't take all three. Why don't you just pick one? The one that inspires you the most right now, and really sort of dedicate yourself to trying to put that into practice as best as possible. So, and I think all of them are excellent. You can't go wrong. Good morning, Carrie. Or is it Kari? Carrie or Kari? Do you have a favorite translation of the Dhammapada? No, I don't. There's several, like, I've talked about them here, and I like them for different reasons. I like Ajahn Thanisro's, and his actually reminds me a lot of the language that one finds in this Oxford Classics edition that I was reading from. I like K.R. Norman's translation. He was the head of the Polytech Society and I think a brilliant linguist. And his translation I like quite a lot. It might be my favorite, but I also appreciate Glenn Wallace's translation of the Dhammapada. And yeah, so those are some suggestions there. And there's a plug here for Reading Faithfully. Has a very good suggestion for which to read at the beginning, and it helped me. Is that about? I'm not sure, Shelley. Is that about the Dhammapada or just about reading suttas? Anyways, I can't remember the URL, but Kemaratana Bhikkhu, who's an old friend of mine, has this really interesting website called Reading Faithfully. And I'm sure if you Google it, you can find it. But it's a great resource for people that are interested in getting into the practice of reading suttas on a regular basis. I don't know how long ago this is, but some people are reporting buffering problems. Is that? I guess there was a little dip in the quality around maybe almost 20 minutes ago now, but things have been pretty good for a while. So I'm going to assume that that's come and gone. Okay. What is my favorite collection? My favorite sutta collection? Maybe the Anguttara Nikaya. I like how it's organized. Lists some numbers. So it's easier for me to remember where suttas are if I can remember, oh yes, this is a dhamma, a teaching on a set of 5 dhammas or 6 dhammas or 8 dhammas. So, and the diversity of teachings that are there in the Anguttara Nikaya are really, I think, quite excellent. It's one that I highly recommend lay people look at too, because it seems maybe a little bit more. It seems like there are more suttas targeted towards lay people. Okay, well, I'm going to leave it at that today, friends. I was kind of working my way backwards there, so if you put questions in earlier that I didn't get to, I'm sorry about that. But I will be here again tomorrow at 8 a.m. for the morning coffee time. So please join me then and come back. And I don't know who's not in the chat room here, but so many of you in the chat room are here each and every day. So hope to see you again tomorrow. And have a good day. And be kind to one another. And remember how much suffering that people carry. Even though you can't see it all, it's there. And it's preventing people from being the better version of themselves that they long to be. So, and that thought should keep you in a kinder relationship to them. So, be well. See you tomorrow.